Okay, so VCTA DCV certification is what we are going to cover in this batch. Okay, so VCTA DCV means VMware Certified Technical Associate in Data Center Virtualization, right? So this is an associate level certification covering one track in VMware technologies, right? So VMware has different technologies with respect to virtualization, right? So you have data center virtualization, you have app modernization, you have network virtualization, you have storage virtualization, right? And then they also have their endpoint security products. So in this particular certification, we are going to discuss the very basics of virtualization, right? And then after that, we are going to dive deep into one of the products by VMware, that is Vsphere. Okay. So when you clear this certification, obviously that is not going to be the end. You go up to the level of VCP, VCAP, and VSX. So VCTA is going to help you out with the knowledge of data center technologies. How can you troubleshoot those technologies? Now, if you already have a certification like CCNA, right, or if you have MCSA, so this certification is going to help you out a lot. Okay, and now you must be thinking, why are we studying virtualization when there are already so many cloud-based certifications? After taking CCNA, we can start with AWS or we can start with Azure. So why this certification? Now let me show you some stuff here. So when we talk about cloud, where does it come from? It comes from virtualization, right? So cloud comes from virtualization. Virtualization of what? Virtualization of compute, virtualization of storage, and virtualization of networks. Together, virtualization of all these components is known as virtualization of infrastructure. And without virtualization, cloud wouldn't be possible, right? So this is that certification which deals with virtualization and all its related aspects, right? So I hope you guys got an idea regarding virtualization. Yes, if somebody has a question regarding virtualization, somebody unmuted themselves. Yeah, you can go ahead and ask me that question. Yes, anyone? Aman, Ankit, Kunal, Prakash? No one? Okay, no worries. So in this certification, we are also going to study the basics of cloud, like how does virtualization lead to formation of cloud, right? And along with that, in vSphere, we have to study the integration of vSAN, the storage virtualization software by VMware, and NSX, which is network virtualization product by VMware. So what is this course going to be about? This course is all about live classes, completely hands-on labs, and quizzes, right? And in this course, we are going to have around 9 modules. So let me show you. So obviously the number one is going to be virtualization, an introduction to virtualization. Here we are going to study about why we require virtualization. Without virtualization, will computers be overutilized or will they be underutilized, right? So for that, we also have to study two types of hypervisors, T1 and T2 hypervisors. T2 hypervisors are the software that you usually have on your computer and through which you run virtual machines, right? So let me show you. So if you go, like, this is my launchpad, and on my launchpad I have certain tools like VirtualBox and VMware Fusion. These are known as T2 hypervisors. Why are they known as T2 hypervisors? Because they are actually hosted on an operating system. Then comes the category of enterprise hypervisors. And you must have worked with one of them, that is Hyper-V. Hyper-V actually is installed on hardware, not on the operating system. So if you think that Hyper-V comes with Windows 10 Pro, no, it actually makes use of the kernel, okay? And that is how you are able to use it. Along with Hyper-V, we have different T1 hypervisors like KVM, Zen Server, and VMware's own Esxi, Elastic Sky Integrated. Okay, so this is what we have to study in the first module. And like I said, first module has nothing to do with VMware. First module is going to talk about different companies that have their own servers, that have their own hypervisors, that have their own cloud technologies, right? So this is what we are going to study in the first module, and it's a generic module, which means that it is vendor neutral. Then we start with VMware, range of VMware products, right? What does it offer in terms of app modernization, right? So it has a product called Tanzu. How does it provide you server virtualization? You have a technology called ESXi, right? Or Vsphere. How does it provide network virtualization? For that, it has NSX. And for storage virtualization, vSAN. So here we are going to study the very basics of vSAN, ESXi, right? And then like the bigger body that includes ESXi, which is vSphere. Along with that, we are also going to understand NSX, Tanzu, and Carbon Black for security. So in this module, we are just going to deal with the basic concepts related to VMware, right? And we are going to talk about these products. Then we are going to go into the hands-on portion of our course where we have to design a lab. Now, when it comes to lab, there are basically three options. And those three options are, number one, you can do it on your own device, provided your device has around 24 GB of RAM and around 500 GB of hard drive space or SSD space, free, right? And I know most of you might not have such device requirements. So you can also use the VCCL simulations, or you can rely on a free lab by VMware, which is HOL, Hands-on Labs by VMware. So these are browser-based labs which we are going to use in order to perform or practice all our labs, right? And then actually there is one more option here. Just like we have racks by networkings for computer networking and MCSA, we have racks by networkings for VCTA as well. So you can use those labs, right? And create your own vSphere, right? So you can create and virtualize servers there. So after that, we are going to deal with the product of VMware, which is ESXi, which we are going to download from VMware's official website, and it will be working as an evaluation version, which means we will be able to use it completely for 90 days without paying anything, right? After that, you might have to pay for it in order to avail all the services. But for us, evaluation version is more than enough. 90 days is more than enough to practice on these labs. Then, because in a data center, there will not be just one server, there will be multiple servers, right? Since there will be multiple servers, how do you manage those multiple servers? That is through a component known as vCenter. So here we are going to study two things, WAMI, right? And Vsphere client. So we have to understand how do they work, which ports they run on, which applications are required to run them. Like here, we are going to work with something known as a virtual appliance. So what is a virtual appliance? What is the difference between ISO and OVA? What is OVF? Everything will be discussed in module 1. That is why I told you that it's a generic module. Here, the concepts are going to apply to all the certifications, right? So if in your organization, there is a requirement for KVM, right? Obviously, the certification for KVM will be different, but at least you can get started. You will have the basic knowledge if you study this module thoroughly, which is Introduction to Virtualization. Then in data centers, problems can happen, right? We might have to club 2 or 3 ESXi hosts together in order to run an app perfectly well. Or it is possible that if one app crashes on one host, we might have to send it to another host. So for that, we have to study clustering. Like how can we create small groups of hosts, right? In order to achieve high availability, which is module number 7, and fault tolerance. So this is what we need to study in this module. Like how do we create clusters? What type of clusters are there? Host clusters, storage clusters, right? So all of that is going to be created in this module. So I already talked about 7, like what is going to happen in module 7. There is a feature of VMware where we can get high availability. High availability is ensured by redundancy, clubbing together multiple components so that you can have backups as well. Okay, you can have additional devices that will take over the role of primary devices if they fail, right? Then we have to study the concept of cloning, right? And in the end, although this is not in the syllabus, of VCTA, but you should know how to work with 2 types of terminals that you get on your ESXi server, DCUI and your command line interface, ESXi CLI. So these are the 2 interfaces that you will be working with in addition to a web client. Okay, so I know these terms might seem very new to you, like what is a web client, what is DCUI, what is fault tolerance, what is NSX. So don't worry about it. When we start, we are going to discuss all of that. This is just an introduction. Okay, and before I start with anything, I just want to first tell you what we are going to need to complete this course, right? So this right here, guys, is my VCCL account. Okay, this is my VCCL premium account. Now, what is VCCL? So it's VMware Customer Connect Learning. Okay, it's written here. VMware Customer Connect Learning. So this is VCCL. VCCL is a training library by VMware. It comes in 3 categories. One is basic, where you will get access to the basic courses by VMware, right? But here, in order to prepare for a specific exam, or for a specific certification, they won't have certain material, right? They won't have sufficient material. In order to get that, you need to get VMware Vccl premium account. So it goes for a very, it goes for a very cheap amount, and you can get access to Vccl premium for an year. Now with Vccl premium, you get access to around 40 courses by VMware plus labs. Okay, 40 courses plus labs. And then towards the end, there is one more type of VCCL, which is VCCL Enterprise. So this is actually for organizations. Now, if they have to train their employees in bulk, then rather than investing in individual VCCL premium accounts, they can just go for VCCL Enterprise, right? So this is VCCL premium, and here you will get multiple courses, right? So just to show you how a particular course will look like. So this one is going to cover the VCTA certification, but which type of certification? VCTA endpoints security certification. For VCTA DCV, the one that we are going to cover, we will be working in coherence with this course. Okay, so let me just show you about this one course, like how this is going to be. So when I open it, it is going to have certain modules as well. And those modules will be theoretical as well as lab based. So let's check. So these are all the different modules of this course. So if we check this module, let's see what do we get in this particular module. So I'll launch the course in a new window. So as you can see here, let me reload the page. Wait a second. It's all right, I'll just launch it once more.
Hi, you are watching the recording from one of our live session. Hit like, share, and subscribe for more future updates.
All right, there you go. So in this particular module, you get access to quizzes, assignments, a demonstration, right? And then some theoretical portion. So this is how this module is. And then there are certain other modules, and every module has a lab in it, theoretical portion, along with a knowledge check in the end, like a set of quizzes that will test you, right? And now, why is VCCL premium required? Because once you have your VCCL premium account, you will then get a, or you will then be able to create a VMware ID. And on basis of that VMware ID, you will be able to book your VMware exam. Okay. Now for VCTA certifications, what is required? You require a VCCL account. Okay, so without that VCCL account, you won't be able to generate your ID. And without that ID, you won't be able to book your exam. So that is how it is for VMware certifications. Now, this is what we will be using throughout our course. Now, let me show you one more resource, and that is HOL VMware. So these labs are completely free to use, And I just told you that those who do not have ample resources on their device, because to perform these labs, I told you we have different options, but if you're thinking of creating or setting up a lab on your device, right? So you need at least a minimum of 24 GB of RAM. My device has around 16 GB of RAM. So like 50 to 60% of the labs can be completed on my device. But if I have to make you understand the process of clustering, or if I have to make you understand the process of cloning migration, right? How to understand hot migration practically, I won't be able to do that on my computer, right? So that is one problem. So most of the labs will be covered or will be illustrated by my computer. Rest of the labs we will take up on either HOL or via VCCL. And then we have one more option, that is RAG by networkings, right? So you can access your labs or you can practice your labs just through the browser. So let's check what do they offer in these labs, right? So there are around 80 labs here which can be accessed free of cost. So let me launch this lab. Now, in order to test these labs, you just need to create a free account on VMware, right? And I told you that there are different products by VMware. So we are majorly going to deal with Vsphere, right? So this is Vsphere. So that's the lab in integration with Kubernetes. This is Vsphere Lightning Lab. So just within 20 or 30 minutes, you will be able to understand the latest features of this product. Okay, so let's check this lab once. Now I already have an account. So let's try to log in and check. All right. So there you go. It's a lab which is free of cost. You can work on it for, more than 10 hours at one time. If you want to test out this lab and you want to extend the timings, you can do that as long as 10 hours, right? So this is the beauty of HOL. And you are not just going to get these labs. Along with these labs, you also get a complete lab manual, right? So what are the topics which are going to be discussed here? What are the concepts which are going to be covered, right? So here you can see everything is being discussed. So the latest vSphere version that we are going to work with is vSphere 7. Okay, before this we used to have vSphere 6.7. Now what are the changes from vSphere 6.7 to vSphere 7, right? There is one particular interface that we need to install, which is VMI, VMware vCenter Application Management Interface. Okay, in the earlier versions, it could be installed on Windows as well, right? It used to come as a Windows specific image. Now it can be installed on any operating system, right? So they have created just one virtual appliance for that. And then what type of VMs do we require? So every VM that we work with on our hypervisors, right? There is a version for those VMs. If the version is not compatible with your hypervisor, then it will not work properly. Okay, so here everything is shown. So if you go here, let's say we go to Chrome. So here you have the appliance management console, right? you will be able to access vSphere from here. And when you access vSphere from here, let me show you what you get. So it's a completely interactive lab, right? It's not restricting you from doing anything. So you can click on different regions here. By going to different regions, you can select different ESXi servers. You can go to monitor tab. You can check if everything is working fine. Are there any alarms here? What is the problem with the license? If the license is about to expire, then how will you renew it, right? How many VMs are running on each, like on this host or in this ESXi? What is running? A Windows 10 machine and one more machine is running. Both of them are powered on, right? How much memory are they occupying? How much hard drive space have they used? How much space have you provided them, right? How much CPU core cycles or frequency cycles have they used up till now? So you can see everything, right? And then when you install virtual machines get stored as files, right? That is why they are known as virtual. So there are not going to be any hardware components associated with these virtual machines directly. Where do they get stored? So they get stored in a place called a data store. Now, how is this data store connected to the host? So this is a VM file store. So it's a file-based data store for the virtual machines. What is the capacity and how much is left on this? So you can see each and everything here. And this is not, just a simulation. Real world data centers make use of vSphere. So you need to understand each and every concept here, right? Which network are you connected to, right? What are these ports called? Why is this uplink port? Why is this distributed port group? So when we have to study virtual switches, at that time you will be able to understand each and everything here. Okay. Then if you have already created a virtual machine and you want to create copies of it, right? So then you can create a template out of it, and after creating a template out of it, you can save that template, keep it in one central location, and from there you will be able to install or deploy different virtual machines from that template. Now you must be, I know all of you must be thinking like, why are we doing this, right? If you really want to understand how cloud works, how clouds are created, then this is the answer. Because without virtualization, cloud would have never been possible, right? So this is why we are going to go through virtualization. And towards the end of the course, if we have completed each and every module really quickly, that depends on your understanding level, that depends on your understanding power, then we will even talk about Docker and Kubernetes and how uh, Docker is different from hypervisors, right? So that is what we have to understand. So this is HOL. I showed you HOL. I showed you VCCL Premium. And then there is one more resource that will be very helpful. It's known as Virtualization for Dummies. Yes, that's the book. So this book is completely free of cost, right? You can download it. And using this book, you will be able to understand the basics of virtualization, like what is para virtualization, what is hardware virtualization, what is OS virtualization, what are the different products, right? So when I was talking about module number 1, this is the book that we will be referring to a lot while understanding it, right? And then after that, we will then work with another book. We will work with another book. Our syllabus will be in coherence with this book. It's known as Next Gen Virtualization for Dummies, right? So this book is made by or authored by a VMware employee, and it covers each and everything related to VMware, and it also provides you the links for all the labs, right? So this is what we are going to cover. Now, we would actually start with data centers. We would actually start with other stuff as well, but that is something that we will discuss in class number 1. So I have talked about what I have talked about the VCCL subscription. I've talked about HOL by VMware, and now I will just talk about networking's student portal. Now, if any one of you is already a networking student, then you will be aware of networking student portal. So if you are not, you just need to log in. You'll have your VMware account here. Oh, sorry, networking's account here. Okay, so I entered the wrong password. I'll just log in from my other browser.
Hi, you are watching the recording from one of our live session. Hit like, share, and subscribe for more future updates.
All right, so once you enroll for a course, you will get access to a similar portal. Now, what I have access to right now is the instructor portal, right? So let's take a look at the previous batch, which was VMware VCTA, August 2021. So if I open this one, let me show you what we have covered. All right. So these will be your live recordings. These will be some additional classes or additional recordings that you can access. And then you also get access to something known as the course discussion section. Okay. Now here, students can ask doubts, right? Students can ask specific questions. If they are facing any issues with the labs, they can just tag me, right? So they can just tag me and then they can ask me about that doubt. So this is how it is going to be. Other than that, I told you that there was going to be a quiz as well. Now, when you're done with the course and you have watched all the videos, then there will be a quiz appearing here, or I can also upload the quiz as a Google form, right? Which you will have to solve in order to get the completion certificate, right? So that is how it is going to be, everyone. So I guess that is all I wanted to share with you. So from the next class, from class number 1, when we start, we are going to start with the basic concepts, and along with that we will then start working with the ESXi server as well, or the ESXi host. Okay, so this is the VMware vSphere hypervisor. So you don't get a complete package. You will have to download the different components by yourself, and then you will have to connect them, right? So here you will get ESXi. So I'll just log in into my account and show you. Right. So this is the hypervisor. So here you will be able to download the ESXi hypervisor. And then if you want anything else like the vCenter, you will also be able to download vCenter from a different link. These are the license keys that I will use for the evaluation version, right? And after 90 days, this will expire. Okay. And then because a lot of students try to install ESXi on their old computers as a literal T1 hypervisor. When we have to work with these labs, what we will be doing, we will be using either VirtualBox or VMware Fusion, because ESXi is a VMware product. So we will be working with VMware Fusion if you're on Mac, and then if you are on Windows, you will be working with VMware Workstation, right? So if you are trying to install it on your device directly, right? If you're trying to dual boot your device with ESXi, then you will have to check the VMware hardware compatibility guide, right? It will tell you if it will work or not on your computer. So sometimes students face some issues with, so there have been multiple batches of VCTA. Like in one batch, some students were facing issues related to, I'll show you what were the issues. The NIC could not be detected. The network interface card could not be detected. So then an additional driver had to be installed via ESXi, and it needed to be packaged again. And that is how we solved that out. And that such kind of problems will be faced in the real-time environments as well. Okay. That is why this course is going to be mostly hands-on, so that any issues that you face in the real world scenarios will be taken care of through the course itself. So let me show you VMware VCTA big offer. Okay, so this was a specific course run for the internal students of networkings who had already taken multiple classes before as well. So if you go to course discussions, right? So there was a person who was facing a specific problem. Yeah, so after installing his vCenter, there is a student named Prabeen. Prabeen was facing an issue with reallocating the data store, right? So he was unable to increase the size of data store, but then he figured it out himself because of his experience. He was able to figure it out himself, and he was able to do this via a small change on the command line interface. That is why learning command line interface for ESXi is necessary, right? And then some people had problems related to installation of ESXi when they were using Hyper-V, right? So there were a few problems there, and then these were also solved. So yeah, because it's going to be a practical course, so people are going to face a lot of issues in the beginning, and eventually it is going to be sorted out. Like this, for this particular student, no network adapters were detected. So when you have to start, you just need to check the compatibility guide, okay, in order to get this done. All right, so guys, this is what is going to be in this course. I guess that is all from my side, and if you have any questions, please let me know.